There is a habit so quiet, so unglamorous, and so deeply misunderstood that most people walk past it every single day of their lives without ever recognizing what it is. It has no viral moment. It produces no dramatic transformation. It will never be featured in a headline about overnight success or sudden wealth. And yet across every civilization, every culture, and every era of recorded human history, this single habit appears at the foundation of almost every case of genuine, lasting, quietly built wealth ever studied. It is not a secret that wealthy people are hiding from you. It is hiding in plain sight, in the daily behavior of the most financially secure people you have likely already observed without fully understanding what you are seeing. In this video, we are going to name it precisely, trace it back to its ancient origins, understand the psychology that makes it work, and examine exactly why the modern world has made it so extraordinarily difficult to practice, and why that difficulty is precisely what makes it so valuable. Before we examine the ancient habit itself, we need to understand clearly why it has become so rare. We live in a world that has been engineered, deliberately, precisely, and at extraordinary expense, to destroy this habit before it can take root. Every notification on your phone, every advertisement you encounter, every social media platform designed to keep you scrolling, every financing option that allows you to own something today that you have not yet earned the money to pay for. All of it works against one thing: the ability to wait. Modern consumer culture is built entirely on the elimination of delay, the removal of the gap between wanting something and having it, the destruction of the space between desire and satisfaction. And it is in exactly that gap, that space between wanting and having, that the ancient habit we are about to discuss lives and grows. The ancient world did not face this problem to the same degree, but the wisest thinkers of every era understood the danger of immediate satisfaction long before the modern world made it the default setting of daily life. They wrote about it, they warned about it, they built philosophical disciplines specifically designed to protect against it, because they understood something that the modern world has largely forgotten. The ability to delay gratification is not simply a personality trait, it is a financial superpower. And like every superpower, it can be developed deliberately, systematically, and with extraordinary results. The habit we are examining today was first described with real precision by the Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome and Greece. But its practice predates even them. Archaeological studies of the earliest successful merchant communities in ancient Mesopotamia, in the trading cities of the ancient Mediterranean, in the early agricultural societies of East Asia, reveal the same pattern consistently. The families and individuals who accumulated wealth across multiple generations shared a single defining behavioral characteristic that separated them from those who earned well but never built lasting security. They consistently chose the smaller reward today in favor of the larger reward tomorrow. Not occasionally, not when it was easy, but as a daily, systematic, almost automatic practice that shaped every financial decision they made, from the smallest to the most significant. The ancient Stoics gave this practice a name. They called it the discipline of desire. Not the elimination of desire, they were too psychologically sophisticated to believe that was possible or even desirable, but the disciplined management of desire. The deliberate choice to place long-term benefit above short-term comfort, systematically and without exception. Marcus Aurelius practiced it. Seneca wrote about it at length. Epictetus taught it as one of the foundational disciplines of a well-lived life. And every one of them connected it directly, not metaphorically, but directly, to the building of lasting security, stability, and genuine freedom. The first dimension of this ancient habit: spending less than you earn, every single month without exception. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple, and that simplicity is precisely why it is so consistently underestimated. Because in practice, in the real daily life of a person living inside the modern consumer economy, This is one of the most psychologically demanding disciplines a human being can attempt to maintain. Here is why. Spending less than you earn is not a one-time decision. It is not a resolution made once and kept forever without effort. It is a decision that must be made again and again and again in the face of constant pressure from advertising, from social comparison, from the lifestyle expectations of the people around you, and from the deeply human psychological pull toward immediate comfort and immediate reward. Every single day presents dozens of micro-decisions, some obvious, most invisible, that either honor this discipline or quietly erode it. The ancient Stoics understood this with great clarity. They did not teach delayed gratification as a simple rule to follow. They taught it as a practice to be cultivated, the way a musician cultivates technique or an athlete cultivates physical conditioning. It requires daily attention, daily recommitment, and the quiet, consistent courage to choose the future over the present, again and again, in the face of a world that is constantly inviting you to do the opposite. The second dimension of this ancient habit, what you do with the difference. The ancient wealth builders did not simply refrain from spending. They redirected what they did not spend into assets, things that would work on their behalf while they slept, while they ate, while they lived their daily lives. In the ancient world, this took the form of land, livestock, tools of trade, and the financing of merchant voyages. The specific vehicles were different. The principle was identical to what the most sophisticated modern wealth builders practice today. Every unit of value that is not consumed becomes a seed. And seeds, given time and the right conditions, produce harvests that dwarf the original planting. This is the mathematical reality that underlies every case of compounding wealth ever documented, ancient or modern. It is not complicated. It does not require sophisticated financial knowledge. It requires only one thing with extraordinary consistency: the discipline to not consume everything you produce. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote about this principle in terms that remain startlingly precise nearly 2,000 years after he set them down. He observed that the person who spends every unit of value they earn the moment they receive it will never build security, regardless of how much they earn. While the person who consistently sets aside even a small fraction of what they receive and allows that fraction to accumulate and work independently, builds a position of genuine freedom that no income level alone can purchase. The amount set aside matters less than the consistency of the habit. A small amount saved and redirected every month for 20 years builds more genuine security than a large amount saved occasionally and inconsistently. This is not intuitive. The modern mind, trained on dramatic financial stories, tends to look for the large move, the big investment, the breakthrough moment, the sudden transformation. The ancient wealth builders knew better. They knew that the large move is built from 10,000 small ones, and that the discipline to make the small moves consistently is rarer and more valuable than the occasional capacity for the large one. We have examined two dimensions of this ancient habit: the discipline to spend less than you earn, and the wisdom to redirect what remains into assets that work independently. But there is a third dimension, one that the ancient philosophers considered the most important of all. It is the dimension that separates the people who practice this habit for a few months and abandon it from the people who practice it for decades and transform their financial lives completely. And it has almost nothing to do with money. The third and most critical dimension, finding genuine satisfaction in the practice itself. This is the insight that separates ancient wisdom about wealth from almost everything modern financial culture teaches. Modern financial advice focuses almost entirely on outcomes: the account balance, the investment return, the net worth figure, the visible, measurable result of the practice. The ancient Stoics focused on something fundamentally different. They focused on the character that the practice builds. Seneca wrote that the person who practices financial discipline consistently develops something far more valuable than a growing account balance. They develop a relationship with themselves, a deep, unshakable sense of their own capacity for self-governance that no external financial event can give or take away. This matters enormously for one practical reason. The early stages of wealth building produce very little visible result. A person who begins saving and redirecting a portion of their income at age 25 will not see dramatic results at 26 or 27 or even 30. The compound curve is flat in its early years. The harvest is invisible when the seeds are new. This is precisely the point at which most people abandon the practice. Not because it is not working, but because it does not yet look like it is working. The ancient Stoics understood that the solution to this problem is not better financial data or more sophisticated projections. The solution is to find the reward in the practice itself. To take genuine satisfaction in the daily act of choosing the future over the present. To feel the quiet pride of a person who knows, privately, internally, without any need for external confirmation, that they are building something real. That internal reward, available from the very first day of the practice, entirely independent of visible results, is what sustains the habit through the long, flat years before the compound curve begins to rise. And it is what the ancient world understood about wealth building that the modern world, in its obsession with visible outcomes and rapid results, has almost entirely forgotten. The fourth dimension, the true relationship between financial discipline and personal freedom. Modern culture presents freedom as the ability to consume whatever you want, whenever you want it, without restraint or delay. The ancient Stoics presented freedom as something entirely different and far more powerful. They defined genuine freedom as the state of needing as little as possible from external sources in order to live a life of quality, purpose, and satisfaction. The person who requires a great deal to feel satisfied is not free, regardless of how much they earn, because their sense of well-being is permanently dependent on external things remaining available, affordable, and present in their life. The person who has trained themselves to find genuine satisfaction in simplicity, who has practiced the discipline of not consuming everything they produce until that discipline has become genuinely natural, occupies a fundamentally different position. Their security does not depend on the continuation of any particular income stream. Their well-being does not collapse when external circumstances change. Their sense of themselves is not tied to the things they own or the lifestyle they maintain. They are, in the deepest sense the ancient Stoics meant, free. And paradoxically, this is the insight that surprises most people. The path to this freedom runs directly through the practice of financial restraint. Not as a sacrifice, not as a deprivation, but as a deliberate, daily cultivation of the relationship between desire and satisfaction that eventually produces a quality of security and freedom that no amount of consumption could ever purchase. So how does a person actually begin building this ancient habit in the conditions of modern daily life? The ancient answer is both simpler and more demanding than most modern financial advice. It begins with a single decision made once, automated immediately, and then left completely alone. Decide on a percentage of everything you earn that will never be spent, ever, under any circumstances. Not a fixed amount, a percentage, because a percentage scales with your income automatically, requiring no adjustment as your financial life changes. The ancient recommendation, consistent across Stoic philosophy, ancient merchant wisdom, and the practices of the earliest documented wealth builders, was 10%. Not because 10% is a magic number, but because it is large enough to compound meaningfully over time, and small enough that almost any person, at almost any income level, can find a way to live on the remaining 90% if they choose to with genuine intention. Automate this decision immediately. Set up an automatic transfer that moves your chosen percentage out of your primary account the moment income arrives, before you see it, before you are tempted by it, before the modern consumer economy has the opportunity to redirect it towards something that will be forgotten in 6 months. Then build a second habit directly alongside the first. Track every unit of value that flows through your financial life, not to judge yourself, not to restrict yourself beyond the 1% decision already made, but to develop the awareness, the clear, honest, unsentimental awareness of exactly where your resources are going and why. The ancient Stoics practiced a form of this daily. They called it the evening review. A few minutes at the end of each day dedicated to honest reflection on how their actions had aligned with their stated values. Applied to financial life, this practice produces something extraordinarily valuable over time. It builds the gap, the conscious space between wanting something and acting on that want, the moment of awareness in which a decision is actually made rather than simply reacted to. That gap, small at first, growing wider and more reliable with consistent practice, is where financial wisdom lives. It is where the ancient habit actually takes root. And it is where, quietly and without drama, the foundation of genuine lasting wealth is laid down, one small deliberate decision at a time. The ancient habit we have explored today will not make you wealthy overnight. It will not produce a dramatic transformation in 6 months or a visible breakthrough in the first year. What it will do, if practiced with genuine consistency, across real time, through the inevitable difficulties and distractions that every financial life encounters, is build something that no dramatic financial event, no market movement, and no external circumstance can replicate or replace. A foundation. Quiet, deep, unshakable. Built not from luck, not from timing, not from a single brilliant decision, but from the accumulation of 10,000 small deliberate ones made consistently over time, guided by the oldest and most proven principle of wealth building that human civilization has ever discovered. Spend less than you earn. Redirect what remains into things that work on your behalf. Find the reward in the practice itself. And define freedom not as the ability to consume without limit, but as the quiet, powerful security of needing very little from the world in order to live a life of genuine quality and purpose. This is what the ancient world knew. This is what the truly wealthy have always practiced. And this is what remains available to anyone willing to begin, quietly, consistently, and without waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. The perfect moment is now. The habit begins today. Thank you for watching Timeless Wealth Code. If this lesson added something valuable to your understanding of wealth and wisdom, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new lesson arrives every week. We will see you in the next one.